Dangerous reality of living on disability in Canada. That is today's topic. So stay tuned. We're going to be talking about that up next. Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to PWD Allies podcast. My name is Brent Frain. I'm the host, and today we're going to be talking about the realities living on disability in Canada. And well, just to let you know that Neil is joining us as usual from Surrey, Putin, Surrey, British Columbia. And I'm broadcasting to you from Victoria, the capital region of British Columbia. And it is mainly sunny, some clouds coming up, but the sun was shining really bright on my side. So, yeah.
We were saying before the show that you look like an 80s music video, Brent. You know, where half of your face is really brightly lit.
Yeah.
So you're rocking the sexy 80s icon music video look right now.
Yeah. So which side's better, this side or this side? Take the bright side or the dark side.
That's right.
Or the shady side.
That's right.
It's the sun always shines down on me.
Yeah. You know what? If you look at the thumbnail and you look at the title for today's show,
Yeah.
some people might accuse me of putting out a clickbait title and thumbnail. But there's a reason why I included the word dangerous in the title, the dangerous realities,
Mhm.
because it is true. Like on a couple episodes ago we talked all about the shelter rate and how the shelter rate is not adequate enough. But beyond that, even though the amount of support, I mean, it does come down to money, right? But
Oh
but
yeah.
but even beyond that, um, there are certain policies that the provincial governments have here in BC and all across Canada, where you can say these policies are actually legitimately dangerous,
Mhm.
legitimately dangerous
They are.
to people's lives. And so we wanted to make today the focus on like what policies are actually dangerous that they really do need to be changed. So again, like we could easily talk about shelter aid again and money, like we could very easily today, but I really wanted to focus in on what are the kind of policies that are actually legitimately dangerous to people with disabilities in BC
Yeah.
here and all across Canada.
Yeah, and like so today's show, just so everybody understands, like the overview of what we're going to be doing, talking about is like we're going to be listing a list of topics that Neil and I have compiled before the show. We went through a list of important topics that we feel that we want to kind of hammer in on, and I mean, there's so many
Mhm.
other topics too to add on to it, but we
We
narrowed.
narrowed it down to five. We
Yeah,
narrowed
we
it
narrowed
down
down
to five. Yeah.
topics, and
Yeah.
within those topics, there's a list of other
Yeah.
subtopics.
Yeah.
So rather than focusing like today, I mean, we probably will kind of touch on about a little bit about the shelter and the
Yeah.
economic the dollar amount, but we're
Yeah.
going to be really diving into the subtopics of why these things are all happening and the
Right.
repercussions of what the detrimental repercussions of the government's archaic decisions of why they've made
Hmm.
these old policies that they haven't modernized and the repercussions of how it affects people's day-to-day lives.
Yeah.
And so, with that being said, we're going to dive into the show. But before we get started, I just want to thank everyone for tuning in to our show. And, tune into the podcast version if you can't watch us live or just
Hmm.
watch a
If you don't
recap.
like our faces,
Yeah, if you
if
don't
if you
like
don't
our,
like our brightly lit faces, like Brent's, like the rocking the '80s look,
yeah,
you
yeah,
can
that's
you can
it's
just
just
listen to our
glowing,
voices
eh?
instead.
It's just glowing with happiness to basically put on today's show and really amplify these. Or you can look at the shadow side of saying, "Well, it's the same thing." See,
Anyway,
having some fun.
the where I wanted to start today's show, like it's really interesting is that we had already thought about doing a show like this. Like
Mhm.
you and I always shop, we always shop ideas for shows. And we do like getting guests on, but in between guests, like you and I are always shopping ideas for shows,
Yep.
and we had already shopped this idea, like what are the dangerous realities of living on disability in Canada? So that was the idea that we shopped, and it's interesting. Like the day after we had shopped this idea, the day after, I got a comment on one of our other videos on the shelter rate one, the
Oh.
the bright green thumbnail. So a couple shows ago,
Hmm.
we got a comment from Laurel Miles,
Oh, yes.
and she's a loyal listener to the podcast and a
Laura.
really valued contributor with her comments. And I just want to shout out to everybody, like all of the comments that we get on the videos, like our audience, and I'm not just blowing smoke, but like our audience is like we get really intelligent comments.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of people that maybe you know, sometimes they want to come on, but they might be shy. They're not sure about coming on and sharing their story. But even so, if they don't actually come on the podcast and share their story, people are sharing their stories in the comments.
Yes.
People are sharing their stories in the comments. It's lived experience comments.
It's greatly appreciated.
It
Very
and
grateful.
it's really greatly appreciated. And so anyway, I just wanted to highlight one comment today. Shout out to Laurel Miles,
Yeah. Thank you,
and
Laura Mouse.
yeah, and I so again, this is her comment. I'm just going to read it, and
Okay.
it's there. It's so much to unpack. It's so much to unpack. Just before I start the comment, it I just want to preface it by saying that she's talking about a friend of hers, and this friend of hers lives in Rossland, and Rossland is, for people that don't know, it's in the West Kootenay region. It's
Yes.
it's kind of near Trail, BC.
It's a beautiful area.
It's a really beautiful area. I've been up there. It's been a while. It's
Yeah, me
it's
too.
it's been a while since I've been up there, but it's a really nice area. So anyway, she has this friend that lives in Rossland, and it's a kind of a nice ski resort town actually. So I just wanted to like give a geographic location of where she's talking about. Okay.
I remember before you get started on that, I
Yeah.
remember Rosalind because I had a camera and I was taking pictures and I was actually went into a little restaurant that was up there and I put my camera on the table many years ago. And so I went to go and use the men's washroom. I
I
came
remember
back,
you told me this story.
yeah,
Yeah.
and my camera was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
that
got legs. It sprouted legs.
that was my memory of Roslyn's.
Oh man.
I don't know what
Yeah.
happened. Anyway, that's yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so let's get to this comment. So Laurel Miles has this friend in Rossland, but she says, so she's commenting on the the video that we did on the shelter rates.
Mhm.
So the green thumbnail, the two shows ago we did one on the shelter rates. She's commenting on that video,
It was a very good
and
show.
and she says, "I'm late to the show, but I wanted to say that I was otherwise disposed helping a single friend move because she lost her rental." Okay, there's lots to unpack here, so I'm just going to keep
Yeah.
reading.
Yep.
Her local rental home in Rossland, so that's the West Kootenay region, was $2,400 a month, and shared by three people.
Oh.
Okay, now here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. Two people moved out, and the additional rooms could not be filled within the 2 months' notice, so my girlfriend was evicted. She has a 12-year-old dog, and both are now homeless. I'll keep going because this is a
Yep.
long comment. I'll keep
Yep.
going. She's going to stay with me temporarily and her dog at a neighbor's because I have a 15-year-old cat in kidney failure. The ministry is providing her a supplement. Get this. I have to pause here. The ministry is providing her a supplement of $1,000 to hire movers, $1,000 to hire movers and a U-Haul, but won't up her shelter rate.
Oh, for God's
Won't up
sake.
or increase her shelter rate. This is the second time. This is the second time she's lost housing, and been giving the moving assistance within 1 year. Second time she's had to move within 1 year. Um,
So sorry.
yeah. Poverty costs more. This is
Yeah.
what Laurel Miles says. Poverty costs more. And then she continues, and like I said, we had already shopped this idea for a show,
Yeah.
but here she continues with this. She says, "This is my show idea." When we already had shopped this idea,
Yeah.
she says,
Yeah. Yeah.
"I'd love to see a show that explores single women without children and single owners impacted by poverty via the Ministry of Poverty Maintenance policies." And
Exactly.
she put poverty maintenance in
Quote.
quotations. So
Yeah.
she says, "I'd love to see a show that explores single women without children and single homeowners impacted by poverty via the Ministry of Poverty Maintenance policies." And then
I love how she quoted that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
anyway, so her last line of here is, "I think single disabled people are sadly losing homes in droves or barely hanging on without rental assistance."
Very true. Very true.
So you can see there's lots to unpack here, Brent. There's lots to it just in this one comment. This is why I
Yeah.
wanted to start the show with
Mhm.
this one comment because there's so much to unpack on this one single comment, right? So let's start.
Yeah.
Let's start unpacking this.
And for our listeners, our viewers, that's just one example of lived experience stories
Yeah, copy
yeah,
and paste by thousands.
exactly.
Yeah,
And so many voices are not being heard out in the wilderness. Shall we call it? The government said, "Oh well, we didn't know that." Well, actually, no, you do know what is
they
going
do
on,
know.
right?
They
And
do
but the
know.
general public, there's so many people in the general public, they're misinformed by the government because misconception is, oh well, the word shelter, that's on top of your monthly income. Well, wouldn't that be something? Because if the word shelter was on top, because the average rent, this is unpack the word average rent. We talked
Hmm.
about this on one of the podcasts recently, but I won't dive into that part too much here. But an average rent, I'll just say geographically, no less than 1900 dollars on
Yeah,
average. Now, that's average.
yeah.
PWD in comparison in BC, $500 shelter. So
$500 maximum.
yeah,
$500 maximum.
it can be less than that.
Yeah.
Now, one of my neighbors says, "Well, they don't give you $1,900 for shelter." What? What? And
Yeah.
what on
I wish.
top of
Yeah.
support?
I
Oh my
wish.
gosh! I said,
Yeah.
no, that would be the reality of the right thing to do. But no, no, no.
But again, Brent, like I wanted to delineate today's show that I
Yeah.
mean we could very easily talk about the shelter rate
Oh
again,
yeah, yeah. But we won't.
but we want to talk about everything else but
Fine.
the shelter rate in a
Yeah,
sense, right?
yeah.
Today, because we want to talk about the danger of living on income
Exactly.
assistance.
And that's
Yeah.
why the reasons why these things happen. And now we're going to talk about today's show of the repercussions of
Yeah.
government's
Yeah.
archaic decisions of policies of not actually modernizing these things.
You just said the magic word, Brent.
Oh,
The magic word for today is archaic.
archaic.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about the
And,
word.
and
This is our special word for. Remember how you had was it Mr. Rogers that would have the word of the day?
yes, the word of the day.
The word of the day for today is archaic.
Okay, boys and girls, today the word of the day is archaic.
And
And
and,
also
and
other sub words today, which we're going to amplify on today's show, is dignity and
yes,
and respect.
and
So those are
autonomy and
and autonomy.
autonomy.
So there's four words today. We'll say it
Yeah.
again.
And,
Number one, Neil,
number one is archaic.
archaic. Number two,
Autonomy.
number
What?
three.
What were the other ones?
Number three is
I already forgot.
number three is dignity. And number
Dignity,
four is respect.
respect. Yeah.
So today we're going to dive into that. So stay tuned, everybody. And we're
Okay,
going to
so
start now.
let's get the ball rolling. And again, there's a reason why I wanted to start with the
Yeah.
with the comment from Laurel Mouse because it just kind of encapsulated everything we're going to talk about today.
Yep.
But I thought it was really interesting too that she said you really got to do a show focusing on single women, and I think that's really
Yep.
important
And
because
well, and we will, Laura Miles. That is
yeah, I mean we're going to
our,
spend at least I mean we got five things to go through today, but we're going to spend at least probably half an hour on just this one comment or just the first part, like number one on the list.
Mhm.
Actually, we're probably gonna spend a good half hour on it.
Yeah.
And so what the number one is BC housing policies are discriminatory towards single women.
Mhm.
That okay? So BC housing policies are discriminatory towards single women. They don't respect autonomy. So there's the other word. They don't respect autonomy, and they don't respect the extra vulnerability. They don't respect the extra vulnerability that women automatically face.
Mhm.
Now
Yeah.
when I say all that, I kind of feel like we're kind of forced to talk about this too, is that you know the problem with government policies nowadays in the provincial government and federal government too is they don't respect the biological differences between men and women, you know. And I mean, I don't want to start a whole firestorm and stuff, but
Right.
it's all about like now it's all about we have to respect the pronouns. We
Oh,
we,
right.
we have to respect and I don't want to go down all of that.
Oh,
I don't. The idea that it's that the pronoun now been given veto authority or veto power over uh, biological sex.
mhm.
It's just a known fact and truth that men and women were created differently. Men
Mm.
and women are very differently biologically speaking, physiologically speaking, psychologically speaking. Men and women are they're just programmed differently, okay? Like we have to acknowledge that. And so one of the ways where men and women are different is that men are you know, talking in general terms, men are the more aggressive species. Men are more aggressive. They're more prone to sexual violence. They're more prone to just physical violence, right? I mean, that's just I'm just speaking
Yeah.
truth. If you look up the data, and I did before the show, if you look up the data, guess how many, if you compare men and women, guess the percentage of men in jail versus women in jails.
Mm.
Guess what the discrepancy is between women in jails
Probably
and men
quite
in
a bit.
jails.
Probably quite a bit.
It's 95% of people that are jailed are men.
Wow.
95%.
That's huge.
So again, like government policy needs to speak the truth and acknowledge the biological, physiological, psychological differences between men and women. And yes, I mean, we can talk about pronouns.
Yeah.
We can talk about pronouns, but that doesn't get to the truth of how men and women are different. And
Mhm.
they were created differently. We are programmed differently, and like for better or for worse, for better and for worse, right?
Yeah.
We're not just gonna like,
Yeah.
like I'm a man, I'm a man, and you're a man. I'm not just gonna sit there and like trash myself as
Yeah.
a male species. We're not going to do that. But again, I do think it's important to recognize that automatically. I just want to make the point that kind of automatically, unfortunately, women are the more vulnerable species.
Yeah.
They just are. Women are the more vulnerable species
Well,
because
a lot of them are fleeing, like they flee violence,
right,
domestic violence, and abuse. But it's the system that the governments have set up, where if it's like a housing provider, because of course, the word shelter or their income disparity or inequality, it's not there, so that basically women can't have their autonomy of making decisions that are best for themselves based on their living situation. And if they had autonomy of making that right decision of having archaic policies that are modernized and that they can actually make better decisions for themselves rather than being trapped into unhealthy, I'll call it unhealthy living environment. I did come across some posts that on social media just yesterday, and I saw another somebody else had reposted it. And that person, I mean, if you're watching the podcast right now, live, yes, I'm talking about your situation, and I'm not going to be here to expose out their names because I actually I think it's a very important topic, and again, it's about lived experience and
Mhm.
stories. And I mean, if you'd love to come onto the podcast and share your story, I'd be more than it'd be gratitude for me to have you come on and talk
Mhm.
about your story. And if you don't, that's okay too. We can have you on with a no face, or we can change your voice if you're scared about maybe somebody knows
We can
your
even
voice.
half light your face if you want,
You
just
can
like
have the
Brent.
half like this, the sunny side or the shady side. But again, like just to kind of tell our listeners and viewers what the story is about is again, the person would love to have their own place. They can't afford to have their own place. They're on ODSP. And for our listeners, viewers, if you're just tuning in now and you're not familiar with what ODSP is, which I'm sure most people are, but if they're
Yeah.
not, if you're just tuning in now and just coming on board, ODSP is Ontario's disability support system.
Yeah.
It's archaic. The way the income is not even
It's very
living.
similar. It's very similar to
Yeah, it's
BC.
very similar to
Yeah.
BC, and I'm going to get to that point in just a moment
Yeah.
regarding the disparities of inequalities. But her story is that she's living with three men,
Yeah.
three men in her place in order to have the income enough to she pay her manager
Yeah.
for accommodation. If she didn't have them, you have them living there, she would not be able to have her place. She's been trying to find another place. She wants her to have another
Mhm.
place to live.
Yeah.
But again, the government is not listening because they have archaic income policies that are dated back to
Well,
the archaic Stone Age.
well, okay. Let's stop.
Yeah,
Let's stop right there, Brent, because again, you're talking archaic.
yeah,
So I just want to put a pin on that word
yeah.
archaic, because I'll go back to we'll go back to our example here in BC,
Hmm.
where we're talking about BC housing policies. Now, you talk about archaic BC housing policies.
Yeah,
What's the key BC housing policy is that they basically force you, they say, well, you have to be in a marriage relationship.
yeah.
You're forcing women to be in a marriage relationship,
Hmm.
because that's the only way you get priority to the top of the list. That's
Yeah,
the only way you get priority to the top of the list on for getting a house on in BC housing. If you're a single woman, was said in the comment from Laurel,
right.
if you're a single woman, too bad. You have to be in a relationship with a man because, well, let's say it too. I mean, it could be a same-sex marriage, but I looked that up too, and the and the amount of same-sex marriages here in BC is right around 1%, maybe a little bit less than 1%. Well, that's the national average
Mm.
of same-sex marriages. So again, when you're talking about men and women cohabitating together, being forced to cohabitate together, if you want to qualify for a house
Mm.
under BC housing rules,
Right.
archaic rules,
Mhm.
right? So again, you have Laurel's friend that is forced, like if she wants to get a house under BC housing rules, she's forced to cohabitate with a man.
Mm. And,
Y-
and that's
y-
and that's what I mean when I was mentioning about another person who her story in Ontario. I don't think she's, as far as I know. I mean, maybe the person can kind of dive in and let me know a little bit more about the housing situation. I mean, you could send me a direct message on social media if the person's watching and let me know your housing situation. I'm just kind of letting our viewers, the listeners,
Mhm.
know what I'm reading is that it doesn't look like a very healthy situation. That's my observation. Obviously, the person is stuck in a rut where
Mhm.
she has no choice but to have that. I mean, either she'd be homeless if she doesn't have three people living with her.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of management companies, they don't even allow that. Like, I mean, they have to either be put onto a lease or have the manager's approval of saying, okay, you're staying here for extended stay, or they charge them extra money to have them actually stay there. I mean, I can say to you, to our listeners, viewers, where I live right now, there's 8 people living in a two-bedroom in my building.
Yeah, which is
Is
stupid,
that
which is
illegal?
stupid.
Yeah, is that illegal? Yes, it is illegal, but management company knows it. But at the same time, the finance-wise, it make the young ladies, they make it work. They make it work. Their friends,
Yeah.
oh, they're there. But if they didn't have that, I mean, yeah, they'd probably be homeless. I
But
mean,
see, but see,
it's tough.
that's kind of ridiculous, isn't it, Brent?
Yeah,
That's kind of ridiculous
it
and
shouldn't be that way.
stupid. It
Yeah,
should You shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't have to
no,
do that. But they have people are forced to do that because
exactly.
BC
Policy,
housing policies are
or
ridiculous and
policy.
stupid and archaic,
Yeah, and
and
then
they don't respect autonomy.
yeah,
They don't respect
exactly.
autonomy.
And when I had a conversation with BC Housing, I used the word guarantee. I said, so there's no guarantee that you would get in if you were a single person fleeing violence, and you need to be bumped up the list because you have to get housing.
Yeah.
Well, they said, no, no, they
No.
be actually on our list, but there's a long waiting list. Okay, so how long is the waiting list? Uh, well, I mean, the government's actually building housing. I said I didn't ask about how many housing that the government is building. I said, how long is the waiting list? Well,
Yeah.
you're looking at about 20 years, sir. 20 years, okay, but if I had a family, could I get in there faster? Well, you would be prioritized, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have a family, but great. But what if you are living in market housing and you want cheaper rent? Can I go from market housing to BC housing
You
or
can't.
co-op housing?
You can't.
Like you can't. You have to
Yeah.
be either fleeing violence, your building has to be sold or condemned, or yeah, like there's so many reasons.
Yeah.
So I have to be homeless first.
So isn't it
Homeless,
stupid, Brent? Isn't it stupid? Again, put a pin on that word archaic. Isn't
archaic.
it stupid that BC housing policies are basically saying if you can find a spouse or a partner that's abusive,
Yeah,
that's physically abusive, if you're lucky enough to find that,
yeah.
if you're lucky enough to find that, we'll and you have to flee that person, and you have to flee that person,
Mhm.
then we'll put you at the top of the list.
But
So
here's another thing.
so find yourself an abusive partner first.
Yeah, but
So
here's
you
another
have to
part.
flee that person, find that first, and then we'll support you.
Yeah, but then
Isn't that stupid?
yeah, and the policies is that if you just know somebody, maybe I don't know, maybe you went to school with a person that you knew, and you bumped into him. Hey, long time no see. Yeah, I'm looking for housing. Yeah, yeah. Why don't we go and talk to BC Housing, see if we can get housing? Nope. BC Housing says no. If you know somebody and you and another person just want to get housing through us, nope, you can't do that. Our policy states you
Yeah,
have to be in a relationship
yeah,
in order to get the housing.
yeah,
Like what the hell? Like
yeah.
like
You know,
this is across the country in
yeah,
different
across the
regions,
country.
same
Yeah.
policy.
You know,
Copy paste.
yeah,
Yeah,
like if you read the news, and you actually sent me a article just the other day about steering committees. Like the government has a bunch of steering committees, and you sent me an article
yeah,
about the financial steering committee. But I wanted to talk about there's other steering committees that the provincial governments have here in BC and all across Canada. They have these things called steering committees,
yeah.
and I want to put forward, and I'm going to say something kind of shocking, but I'm going to put it forward anyway, is that I think what needs to happen is the government here in BC and all across other provinces too, they need to develop a steering committee called Men Have Penises and Women Have Vaginas. Men have penises and women have, and the reason why, again, the reason why is acknowledge the difference between men and women. Again, we started the show saying that women are unfortunately, women are the more vulnerable species. They just are, and men are the more naturally aggressive, and more naturally prone to physical violence. It's just a fact. That's the reason. That's the reason why you have things like women only gyms. You have women only gyms around because there's lots of women out there that don't want to be around other men. They don't feel comfortable being around other men. That's just a fact too. That's just a fact too. There's lots of women out there that don't feel comfortable being around other men. So
It's,
they
it's,
want
it's almost like that territorial, like it's like their own.
they want to have that option. They want to have that option to have a safe space
Right.
away from men. You
Mhm.
like women should always have that option. Women should always have that option if they want to,
Absolutely.
to have a safe space
Mhm.
away from men.
They should. They should. There should always be an option. There should
It should
always be
always be an option.
an exit plan.
And that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like if you want to talk truth and reality here, Brent,
Yeah.
if you want to talk truth and reality and facts, like that's what I mean. Like the provincial governments have to have steering committees now acknowledging the truth and reality of the biological differences between men and women, the physiological differences, the psychological differences. So they have to have a steering committee called Men Have Penises and Women Have Vaginas. And if they had that for BC housing policies would change overnight. They would
Oh,
change
yeah.
overnight, Brent. They would change overnight because you know why? Because they would automatically respect the autonomy and difference and vulnerability
And dignity.
and dignity of a woman versus a man. They
Because
would
right now the policies are disrespecting all those four topics that we mentioned at the top of the show here. I mean, when I say governments have disrespected those topics, I mean every level of government across Canada has disrespected, and they continue disrespecting. Why? Because they doesn't affect their lives. Their decision making is keeping people from prospering in life and enjoying life. I mean, people are born the way they're born. I mean, they live their lives, but having government saying, "Oh, well, you have to do this and you have to do that because well, these policies are written this way." Well, you know what? Change the goddamn policies then.
yeah.
It's not difficult, government, really, because we can tell you people with lived experience. They can tell you their stories. I mean, they've told you on testimonials with that CDB garbage. I mean, they've told you from provincial level. They told you from different advocacy organizations who you had your go-to people who told you
Yeah.
don't do certain things because it's going to be
Yeah.
harmful. They change it this way. Oh yes, yep, and then you agree, and then you do it completely backwards. You threw it back in their
Yeah.
face, a gut punch, and that's just one example. But again, when you do like townhouse meetings or town hall meetings, I was just in the word townhouse because of the housing. But I mean, yeah, same thing, townhouse, town hall. But we can combine those together, and so you get ministers from in each province. Like every so often, they're going to have ministers going and saying, "Hey, I'm going to be in your community. I want to do a Zoom meeting or actually
Mhm.
in person meeting?" And so they get to know their constituents, right, and the community, and that's great. And so listen to lived experience stories. What do you want to see from our government? Changing policies, archaic policies. The word archaic again.
Yeah.
Changing those
We're
policies
just gonna
going
have that
forward.
littered throughout the whole
Yeah,
podcast,
and
aren't we, Brent?
yeah, exactly. And so when you get a minister saying, "Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, that's great," and it's always like that yes man, and then they
Mhm.
go forward, and guess what happens? Nothing happens. So that was a waste of the minister's time, the constituents' time, the people who've lived experience telling you how to form your policies, your archaic policies, and give people that dignified uh, lived experience, and give them that autonomy,
Yeah.
and just yeah, I mean, going forward, and whoever's stopping that minister from
Yeah.
doing that, we want to get as a disability community at whole across
Yeah.
Canada, not just for us, but all the way across
Yeah.
Canada. I think our voices are echoing across our nation. We're saying enough is enough is enough. We want to get to the bottom of these old policies. Let's modernize things. Don't Government, it's not scary. It's not a scary thing to say the word disability, lived
Yeah.
experience stories. I mean, I know you live in a bubble, you have a privilege, right? I think
Yeah.
we all recognize that anyone who's in government office, they have privilege. And we've had guests coming on who are from other MPs or MLAs. I mean, from all whole bunch of angles, and they have even said we live in a privileged
Yeah.
life right now because they're elected officials, and so there's nothing wrong with saying
I know that
that.
Mike Morris was always saying that.
Yeah,
He was always acknowledging his
but he
privilege.
acknowledged
Yeah.
though that
Yeah.
he lived in a privileged
Yeah.
role, and
Yeah.
but he did acknowledge though that people living in legislated poverty. I
Yeah.
mean, I know governments don't. I mean, from different levels that impose these things, and they don't want to hear that word.
Yeah.
But it's not a scary thing to talk about, right? It's like if I always say if you're the hen, okay, or you're the rooster, and you're
Yeah.
sitting here you're protecting those eggs. Why? Because
Yeah.
I used to have to go and collect the eggs from my mom. And I'm like, Mom, all the chickens are fine. It's the roosters. It's the roosters that are pecking at me. Brent,
Mhm.
just push the rooster aside. Push the rooster aside. Get those eggs. I need them now. Do you want to have lunch? Yeah. Okay. Well, you need to push the rooster aside so I can go and make scrambled eggs. And I'm going to be making a nice brunch for you, like it was lunch,
Yeah.
breakfast slash lunch,
Yeah.
and scrambled eggs and pancakes, and oh, it was so yummy. But fresh eggs, I couldn't get to past that rooster. So my point is that the rooster is the one who's basically controlling the policies.
Right.
We need to get past that rooster,
Yeah.
and so whoever's stopping the minister from actually imposing in proper modernized policies,
Well,
you get behind them. Get
and
rid of
and uh, and let's again turn our attention to here in BC, because this is what you and I know, Brent. We
yeah,
we know BC because we live here.
yeah,
So let's turn our attention to here for now,
yeah.
and let's put the spotlight on Sheila Malcolmson,
Mm.
the Minister of Social Development here. I mean, she's famous for always saying like we've raised the rates 5 times. Now, I don't know if it,
Fine,
I
fine,
don't know
fine.
if it actually is 5 times. I think
It's
she's
not fine.
inflating the numbers there.
Yeah, it's
But you
five
know
times.
what? I wanted to say, like, I started out the show saying that our listeners here are the people that subscribe to the podcast here and that listen to the podcast here. We have very smart people on that listen to our podcast and
Mhm.
that leave really smart comments. And you know what? If all Sheila Malcolmson would have to do, like, I know she does listen to the podcast, but all she would have to do too is if you just comb through the comments, you know, uh, like the last comment that we just talked about for the last half hour, if she saw that comment and read it, she'd be going, "Wow," like Neil and Brent are right. We really do have to change the policies. We really
Yeah.
do have to acknowledge that men have penises and women have vaginas, and
Mhm.
that women are the more vulnerable species by default. Unfortunately, I mean we're just acknowledging truth and fact
Yep,
here, right, Brent?
yep, yep.
So again, if BC housing policies were rewritten to acknowledge that women have are that men have penises and women have vaginas, like the policies would change overnight because, like I said already, because they would acknowledge the autonomy. They
Mhm.
would acknowledge that autonomy of person is important. They would acknowledge that the vulnerability, protecting the against the like protecting, making sure a woman is not vulnerable, making sure a woman is not vulnerable, that she feels safe in a housing and in her housing situation
Mhm.
is so important. It's so important, right, Brent? So
Yeah,
so the idea that BC housing literally forces women to bunk up with a man in
mhm.
order to qualify for
Yeah.
BC
Housing.
housing. Like they
Yeah.
forced upon them. It's forced upon them to do that, right?
Mhm.
And they basically say, well, you know, if you go find a man, if you go find a man that wants to be abusive towards you, if you go want to find a man that wants to be abusive towards you, and you have to flee the violence of that person, then we'll support you. We'll support you then. I mean, how stupid is that, Brent? How stupid is that? That is
Yeah.
so stupid. And yet, that is the archaic policy. We'll say it again. That is the archaic policy, the current archaic policy written by toy poodles. It's written by toy poodles,
Mhm,
monkeys, written by
mhm.
toy poodles or monkeys,
Yeah,
archaic policy,
yeah,
right?
and we're going to claw off that income. So now it's one income. So
It's
now
so
the
stupid,
so now
Brent. So stupid.
so now yeah, so now they're trapped. If they leave, well, now they can't find housing. They can't find housing because now they're by themselves. Now BC Housing said, "Sorry, you'll have to get down our list again. It's only for families and children first."
Yeah.
And so when I said to BC Housing, so there's no guarantee that a person qualified. And they, their response was, everyone, why, Brent? Why do you keep saying the word guarantee? That's not in our policy. I said, well, then you need to actually implement that in your policy because they're archaic. And guess what?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I got a dial tone on the phone because
Hey, I
the
got
person hung
my.
up the phone on me because I must have hit a nerve. Well,
Yeah, and that's the other thing too is
yeah,
I mean, BC Housing will give you housing too if you happen to be a mother.
yeah,
So I mean, again, you're not respecting single woman again. You're right. You're
exactly,
not respecting single woman. You have to have a kid first. Like
yeah,
if you have a kid, we'll respect you then. But like if you want to like if I wanted to share housing with another guy, like I don't have that situation right now. Of course, it's because I'm married.
yeah.
But let's say for example, I wanted to share a house with two guys. It's like
Mhm.
no, you can't do that. That's not. You have to be married. You have to be married, Neil.
Exactly,
You
yeah,
can't do that. Or like if you had a son, which I mean I do, but let's pretend I didn't. Let's
yeah.
pretend in an alternate world I didn't. And it's like, well, I don't have a child. It's like, well, too bad, Neil. You either have to have a child, and like if you're a woman with a child that's fleeing
Playing
abuse,
violence, yeah, abuse of
like we'll put you at the top of the list then.
wow.
It's like again, we're talking about policy that's archaic, that's written by toy poodles, that's written by monkeys,
Mhm. And
and
these policies are written across the Canada, everyone. I mean, I said, anyone watching right now, I mean, tell me which policies are in your province. I mean, I'm sure you're probably echoing, yeah, those policies are in my province and all the territories. There's provinces out in out in the Maritimes, and then you got the Atlantic provinces. Uh, sure, cost of living is is cheaper. The housing is not, or vice versa. Like it doesn't match this
Mhm.
situation where it comes down to affordability, one way or another. Affordability is going to get the person. But again, are these policies in place in other provinces? I would love to know a little bit
Yeah,
more about the Atlantic provinces and the Maritimes. Is that people fleeing violence? They're fleeing domestic abuse. I mean, and because the system oppresses them down. I mean, people
hmm
need to have their autonomy. They need to have respect, dignity. They have to have the right to so many things. And I think
yeah,
Canada has to learn to say, hey, okay, I guess it's time to now modernize things, and maybe these people are right. Well, not maybe, like we are right because it's our lives, it's our lived
yeah,
experience of what we go
yeah.
through. And I mean, nobody should have to live in fear of not being able to make the right choices in life.
Your house where you live, your
Yeah,
house should be a safe space,
it should
right?
be. It should be.
And actually, we're going to be talking about safe spaces
Yeah.
later on in the other
Let's go to the
things.
next.
So let's go to the next. We have to kind of go through rapid fire
Yeah,
now because we've already spent almost 45 minutes on the.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I knew we would. I knew we would.
I know.
And it was
Sonia
intentional.
called it out. Sonia called it out before.
It was intentional. Like
Yeah,
we did spend all this time on the first one on purpose.
yeah.
But let's go to
Today,
the
today's
let's go to
show
the second one and kind of go through these through rapid fire because these
is
are
longer.
important, but not as we don't have to dive quite as
Yeah.
deep on these next ones. So the second one is begging. We have to beg for the
Oh yeah.
crisis supplement. We have to
Yeah.
beg for the crisis supplement. And if we don't get the crisis supplement, we have to people with disabilities are forced into mutual aid or crowdfunding for basic necessities. And what we mean by basic necessities are things like paying for hydro bill
Hmm.
and paying for your medications and paying for clothing, the and paying for food, like basic necessity
It's hard.
stuff.
or even cell phones.
Cell phones too.
We'll
And
dive
actually,
into.
that's number three. That's number three on the list, Brent. So
Oh, okay. Oh, that's number three. Or
let's
two.
stick with two.
Yeah,
We're
first.
just talking about begging for the crisis
Yeah.
supplement. Now here in BC, if money's tight, if money's tight, they say, well, you can apply for a $50 crisis supplement every
Oh,
month,
yeah.
right?
Yes,
But you literally have to beg for it, and they say,
you do.
well, why do you need it? Why do you need it? And I mean, anybody
I'll
can
give
come
you
forward and
our listeners an
yeah,
example. So the place that I rent from, they have sister properties managed by other agents, should we call them? And a lot of big corporate companies, they actually have other sister properties, and they're all it's interesting. It's all kind of embedded. It's like you pay. It's like, okay, I'll use a company as an example. You got Burger King or McDonald's or Wendy's, right? So you got other companies, but they actually use the banner name. You got to pay the franchise name, but it can be whatever company it is underneath it, right? So, and that's how kind of where we rent. It's like it could be managed by a different company altogether. They could call it, I don't know, corrupted management company or something. You know what I mean? But it's not.
mhm.
But they go with the banner name of whatever it is, right? I mean, so we could call it Voodoo. The name Voodoo Enterprises, but underneath it, corrupted whatever it is. If it makes any
Mhm.
sense to anybody, probably not.
Yeah.
But anyway, I guess my point is that you get it. Basically, the management companies they have their own group of companies or properties, but they still have to pay the franchise name into the corporate, okay, in order to have
Mhm.
the rights to run their business. So I bumped into a couple people, and like Sonia and myself, we enjoy going for a walk around our neighborhood. I got into a conversation a few days ago regarding exactly what we're talking about now. Is that the one person said, "Did you know that you could get a $50 supplement if you phoned up to the BC government, up to their ministry's office, and requested it?" I heard about that. But are you, I said, but are you comfortable, said, ma'am and sir, about walking down to Pandora and
Yeah.
Pandora is like the east side of Vancouver, or if you're in Ontario, you might have different sketchy areas of maybe your downtown east side, or maybe
Yeah.
some areas of a suburb that maybe I'm not picking
Yeah.
on.
Pandora is basically the equivalent of the
Yeah,
downtown east side
of an
from
area
Vancouver.
that people
Yeah.
feel very uneasy.
Yeah.
Pandora, they people they have axes and sledgehammers. They have all sorts of weapons, guns, you name
Mhm.
it, knives.
Yeah.
They're stretched out, laying on the sidewalk. You can't even get around there. But the
Mhm.
government says, but you can request to have a crisis supplement. However, I want the Minister Malcolmson to realize, if you're watching today, Minister, um, your call center, when people call up, they are grilled. They are grilled and they are asked, why do you need $50? Why are you not budgeting better? Why are you not lifting
Why
your
isn't $500
yeah,
shelter enough, Brent?
yeah.
Why isn't $500
But
shelter
they were
enough?
questioned
We've got to be able to find rent for $500 a month, Brent. If you don't find that, Brent and Sonia, you must not be budgeting very well,
yeah, and that's
right?
why the person was grilled, is that they're saying, oh well, cut back. Then the person, well, I'm really sacrificing basically different internet providers. Like I've tried negotiating it. Well, do you really have to have internet? Do you really have to have your phone? I mean, these things like, oh wow, and the person said for $50, and you know what? The person said, forget it. Hung up the phone on the call center and said,
Yeah.
you know what? And that's how they treat you. They say, well, beg and plead, beg and plead. So what does the person do? Goes online to social media and asks people for help because the government won't help their own citizens,
Yeah.
but they help themselves,
They
minister. They
do. Yeah.
help themselves.
Yeah. And
It's
and
the
and you,
same pool of money.
yeah.
Why can't you help your citizens? Here's an idea. Put it on the check. Put
Put it
it
on
on
the
the
check.
check.
Yeah. Show me the money. Yeah.
Show
Show
me
me
the
the money.
money.
Yeah.
Increase the maximum shelter rate that went up from
Yeah.
375 to 500. Tell me, anywhere in Canada or North America you can rent on these rates. You cannot You cannot even rent on a full
No, you
PWD.
can't.
Yeah, and again, that kind of goes back to the other point that we were just talking. Now you're going to have a group of people living in your
Yeah.
household, and now you have to hope that your management company doesn't say, "Hey, you can't have more than two people here." Is the
Yeah.
other third person or fourth person here? They have to be on the lease. Now they have
Well,
more money.
yeah. And you know what, Brent? You just touched on it a moment ago. You just touched on the TV, internet, and cell phone, and
Yep,
even basic utilities. You just touched on that just a couple minutes ago. So, and that's point three.
yep. That's blended point three.
Let's now focus on in on point three.
I did that
Is
deliberately.
that yeah? Is that our TV, internet, cell phone, and even things like hydro are
Yeah,
considered luxuries.
yeah,
They're considered luxuries, Brent.
yeah.
Like, do you really need to pay your hydro bill? Do you really need heat in the winter, Brent and
Yeah,
Sonia?
if you don't have your hydro, your fridge is not going to run. Now you
Yeah.
can buy your food.
Do you really need
Keep it
your food
refrigerated.
not to be spoiled?
You get food
Is it
poisoning.
really important for your food not to be spoiled, Brent?
You have food poisoning if your fridge is not running.
Yeah, like the ministry would ask, is it really important, Brent? Like that's what I wanted to
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
I'm being sarcastic, of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
I hope people can see I'm being sarcastic, but this is the
And
other kind of sub point I wanted to get to
yeah, it's
is
the mix.
the government assumes, the ministry assumes that people with disabilities don't deserve to be healthy. We
Hmm.
don't deserve to be healthy. We don't deserve to be connected to our communities. Like health is optional. Our
Hmm.
health is
According,
optional.
according to them.
Our our ability to connect to our communities is optional, Brent. It's a luxury. Our health is a luxury in the
Mhm.
eyes of the BC government here and in the eyes of all the governments, provincial governments across Canada, our disabled health is a luxury. Our ability to be connected, to stay connected to our communities is a luxury, Brent.
Yeah.
Like
But
like
here's a good example is that the government will say, "Oh, you can't afford food, well then go to the food bank." Well,
yeah.
here's newsflash for everybody, and I've been keeping up with a lot of the current information regarding.
Can you get fresh lettuce at a food bank, Brent?
Nope, nope. You have to get
Yeah.
it, and when you get it, then you have to hope that it's not rotten because I can tell you, hey, I've got people in my building that go to the food bank, and a lot of it's been rotten. And they were standing in the lineup at the local food bank, and the person came back, and they were completely out of it. And I said, "Are you okay?" They're like, "Oh," they said, "Just we were standing in the lineup," and they said that people were doing all their drugs, and they were all standing in the lineup there, and
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, again. I mean, people should not have to go to the food bank. Food
Yeah.
banks, once upon a time, they were not even a thing. They was actually soup kitchens. After our World War II, soup
Mhm.
kitchens became a thing to help the war veterans and their families get through the hard times. Okay, and then the food banks were just there as an independent. They were there as an independent. It was a trial. It was just a trial to just to help people get by. They weren't supposed to
Mhm.
be a permanent fixture in society. And now you got nonprofits, you get big corporate food banks,
And there's big
and
money. There's
and
big
there's
money
big
in
money
food
to be
banks.
made, and that's
Yeah.
why the propaganda is the government promotes
Yeah.
food banks, food banks.
Yeah. They
Oh,
love giving money to food banks because it's
oh
big
yeah,
money
and
for them.
money out like candy. Here,
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
How about help the citizens?
Well,
How about make
yeah.
community? How about community gardens? Make more community gardens to help people in each area, and they can grow their own food. Grow their own food. I know in Langley, where I lived before I moved to Victoria, there was an area that we lived in, and they had a community garden, and people all in the area, they actually had a little section where they can actually grow carrots and
Hmm.
broccoli and I mean you name it. I mean, if you like asparagus, I'm not a big asparagus fan, but there was that there.
Yeah.
I mean, you name it, tomatoes, yeah, like right off the vine. Oh
Yeah.
man, I love fresh tomatoes. I tell you,
Well,
like everything was there. Cucumbers.
yeah. And I just wanted to circle back a bit, and I'm going to put you on the spot a bit, Brent.
Sure.
I don't mean to. I'm just going to, and I think you're okay with it because
Yeah.
you've shared it before. So I'm just going to reshare what you've shared before. I'm not going to say anything that you haven't shared
Mhm.
already. But I wanted to say that like for me personally, I know for you, like, and for basically everybody that has a disability, we take our health very seriously. Like when you have a disability, one of the things when you have a disability is you learn to really respect your body. So
Hmm.
you want to invest in your body and make it as healthy as possible. Like I realize like when you have a disability, you're already behind the eight ball, right? You've already had kind of your deck stacked against you, right?
Hmm.
So because the deck is stacked against you, you want to do everything in your power. You want to do everything in your power to stay healthy, right?
Yep.
But I mean, you have governments that are saying like, why do you need a $50 crisis supplement, and why do you need to buy fresh lettuce? You know,
Yeah.
and like here's where I'm going to use your example and
Yep.
Sonia's example is that you have shared a couple of times, and you've had to do this more than a couple of times where you've talked about 5 week months before, right? Like there's a lot of 5 week months before, and
Oh,
you've said that how you and Sonia have both had to go down to one meal a day, sometimes
yeah.
one meal a day,
Hmm.
and maybe your second meal, your last meal is so you have like your breakfast lunch, so you have a brunch,
Yeah.
you and Sonia have a brunch,
Yeah.
and maybe that's it. And then what do you have for dinner, Brent? You've shared already. You shared already to me and to
Yeah.
others. Your dinner meal is a plate of potato chips.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah. Yeah.
dinner
Oh,
meal is a plate of potato chips.
yeah.
Now
Potato.
I ask Sheila Malcolmson if she's listening to me right now and listening to you.
Mhm.
What is healthy about having a plate of potato chips as your dinner meal? What is healthy about that, Sheila
Yeah.
Malcolmson?
Yeah. And my rebuttal on that is the repercussions of it. Sure, I think people probably say potato chips. Oh, hey, I mean, yummy, yummy, right? Okay, I'll admit, yeah, some of the potato chips are pretty tasty, aren't they? Well, here's the repercussion when it comes to that. If you are diabetic, okay, or you have um, hyperglycemia, right? You have low blood pressure levels, different health conditions. Um, and I'm not trying to say I'm an expertise when it comes to that. So don't get me wrong, everybody. I'm not saying I'm Mr. Know-it-all in it, but I can tell you, living with somebody who is diabetic and who
Hmm.
does go through a lot of different health issues when it comes to healthy eating of different food choices, I can tell you 100%. Okay. And if you don't believe me, I'll actually put Sonia on the show here to talk to you, and she can tell you what she goes through on a day-to-day basis.
Hmm.
Ups and downs of sugar lows,
Yeah.
sugar highs, to moderate her sugar levels. Okay. Some days are better than other days. Other days are not a good day. Some days are really good days. Other days are not a good day. It actually affects the person's emotions. It affects their well-being. So if they're not eating healthy, if it's potato chips for one night, guess what happens later on? Now, if a doctor, if you're doctors, if you're watching this or nurses, what happens? What happens immediately? Nothing right away. Nothing right away.
Nothing right away.
Short period of time after, numbers start spiking up.
Yeah.
Sonia's using hand sign signals beside me, going
Yeah.
numbers up, up, up.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, up, numbers crank up, and then all of a sudden, what happens when you get that? I mean, I can give you an example. So if and I'm not going to do it, but I mean, I got a cup of coffee right here. Okay.
Hmm.
As an example, I'll use that as a comparison. If I were to drink 20 cups of coffee, what would happen? Or the average person, what would
Hmm.
happen?
Hmm.
My God, you'd be like, boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
right? Okay, if a person ate a bunch of sugar
Yeah.
or a bunch of chips, which converts into sugar,
Yeah.
anything that's starchy converts into sugar.
Yeah.
So over time, it goes up. And what happens when it goes up? It comes crashing down.
Yeah.
So when it goes up, in some cases, it can stay elevated for a period of time, which can put you in a dangerous situation. So Sonia then has to give herself insulin
Hmm.
to lower it down. She has to be careful in the amount of insulin that she gives herself and what she has, because if she gives too much, that number is going to come crashing down anyway. Those numbers it's going to come down. And what happens is that instead down, now you get a low. So what happens when you have a low? Now you need to correct it. So now you have to have more sugar or something to prop you back up again. So what
Yeah.
you're doing is that you're screwing with
Yeah.
your system. You're
Yeah.
constantly giving more and more and more.
Yeah.
So I guess
You could have the option to eat healthier
if the
if
government
you
was
had the
to
more money, right?
provide the
Yeah.
proper income, no less
Yeah.
than poverty level financial support.
But this is where again we can say that thanks to archaic government policies, provincial
Yep.
policies, they're basically saying, you know what? The health of disabled people is not a priority. It's not a priority to us government. We don't care. We don't care if you're not healthy. We don't care if you don't have internet and you can't stay connected to your community. We don't care. Having internet TV, having healthy food, even having your hydro
Mhm.
to make sure you have a fridge that is working and heat that's working. Those are luxuries, Brent. In the
Yeah.
eyes of our provincial governments, those are luxuries.
Yeah, I'll
And
give you an example about a fridge. Like we have our fridge management company says, hey, we sent a contractor and they looked at it. Oh, it works fine to us. It's running. And okay, again, you can't put nothing in the back of your fridge. You put anything or
yeah,
it slides to the back of your fridge. Guess what? If you want something like an extra freezer, hey, put stuff in the back of your fridge. It's all going to be frozen. If you got your meals there and leftovers, if
yeah,
they accidentally slide for some reason into the back or a little bit closer to the back, it's frozen.
yeah,
I mean, recently we had a bunch of produce that was actually in our crisper, which is not in the back of the fridge, all frozen, all
yeah,
frozen. We just bought it. We had to
yeah,
throw it all out and like
yeah,
some other food. And what happens is that if you get any meat or anything that's not perishable items, some things you cannot freeze and unfreeze, freeze and unfreeze. The
you
fridge,
can very easily get food
yeah,
poisoning, and I've got
and
food poisoning lots.
the fridge has
Yeah,
done that.
yeah,
We've had to replenish stuff, and so we can only keep certain things in there like for a couple of days at a time, and we have to constantly
yeah,
keep going to the store. And what
yeah,
happens when you keep going to the store? It's going to cost you more, right?
yeah.
Because if you buy by quantity, sometimes you get a special better deal by buying by quantity rather than
Yeah.
by individual. And
If we all had huge fridges where
yeah,
where we could all go to and we had all this money we could go to like Costco
yeah,
and save a bunch of money, but we don't have a bunch of money to start with.
exactly.
So it's like you can't save a bunch of money if you don't have a bunch of money to start with, right?
Yeah, exactly.
One example I wanted to I'm going to mention John Horgan.
Yep.
God bless him. But I have to mention him again. We're going to talk about the heat dome. There was a heat dome in 2021.
Hmm.
Remember, there was a bad heat dome in 2021,
Yeah.
and there was the SROs. There was the SROs in the downtown east side where they didn't have. Remember, they didn't have any cooling. They didn't have any like the air conditioning. There was none of that. And we also have to say that there was also examples of SROs not having fire the
Sprinkler.
the sprinklers or the fire alarms like the
Oh, right.
smoke
Smoke
detectors I was
alarm.
going to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah,
So
smoke detectors.
they
Yeah.
don't have smoke detectors and they don't have the sprinklers.
Yeah.
So there's been fires there's been fires in the SROs where people have died
Hmm.
and the government kind of goes, oh well, almost like, oh well, that's the health and safety of people with disabilities that doesn't matter. The health and safety of our elderly population, the ones that are living in the SROs because of poverty,
Hmm.
because of enforced legislative poverty, the ones that are living like that, they don't really deserve to be feel safe. They don't deserve the personal health. If they die in a fire, oh well. And so I'm going to park that, but then we're going to talk about the heat dome, and this is where I'm going to actually throw Horgan under the bus. And I know he's not here anymore to defend himself, but I'm going to throw him on the bus anyway because I have to. Is that back in 2021 we had the heat dome, and again, we're talking about an SRO in Vancouver,
Mhm.
and because there was no air conditioning there, there was lots of people that died, like lots, right? We're talking like it was over 100, wasn't it? It was
Oh
over
wow.
it
Oh
was
wow.
well over 100. It was well
Oh,
over 100 people that died. And again, bless John Horgan's soul, but he must have had like a really bad day that day. But he went on public record, and what was his comment, Brent? I remember what his comment was, and it was actually kind of disgusting. His comment was, when he was asked by reporters, when he was asked by media, like, what's your comment about all these people that died because they didn't have adequate air conditioning, Mr. Premier? And his response was, "Oh well, that's what happens when you get old. That's what happens when you get old. You die." That was his response. And again, I don't, I don't, I
that's
don't mean, I don't mean to throw somebody
yeah.
that's passed away
Right.
under the bus, because I
Right.
really respected John Horgan.
Me too. Me
Like I
too.
said, God bless him, and like he
But
must
I
have he
remember
must
that
have been
call.
must have been really having a bad day. But that comment was inexcusable,
Yeah.
inexcusable comment to say that, well, oh well, that's what happens when you get old, you die.
If people
You
didn't have the sufficient airflow, there was no air conditioning. Those SROs, in my opinion, those SROs should not even exist. They need to
no,
get rid of those SROs. I even said to the government decades ago, I'd go to Vancouver, I see these decrepit buildings. I remember taking my mom down there. We went for an outing one time, and this is going back decades, everyone. God rest my mom's soul. Same thing. Like she says, well, Brent, I mean, people need a place to shelter. I go, Mom, would you live in a place like that? She goes, Oh
yeah,
no, no,
yeah.
no. But her point was people need a roof over their head. But she also said they need to get rid of those places. And
People
again,
need safety. They need to
my mom
feel
even
safe and
told the government
secure.
decades ago, like
Yeah.
geez, I was just in, I would think I was in grade seven, going into grade eight, and my mom had, I guess she must have had a meeting somewhere within the government. Someone who she knew, and she said, then get rid of those things. They didn't listen. They didn't listen to nobody. Government figures they know best for everything. Where are we at now? Well, I can tell you that same year, we actually moved to Victoria. That same year, we had just got to Victoria, the heat dome year. We'd
Hmm.
got here, and this place, I mean, we saw it when we first saw it. Well, okay, yeah, it's doable.
Yeah.
Was it what we wanted? No, no. We moved. It was very shocking. It's like having. Oh, I'll give you an example. Okay, it's like if the sun is just rising, right? It's really bright, so you close your curtains, right? It's too bright. That's like having a brand new place going into a, like, I mean, when I say brand new, literally brand new, it's just built. We moved into this brand new building and then going to a place that was built in the 1960s, late 1960s. So going from brand new to it was a huge shocker to our system. But hey, you get to have rent way
Mhm.
below what you
Yeah.
were paying then. We're like, yeah, yay, this is
Yeah.
great. Isn't this convenient? You got shopping around you what you need. Yeah, but no cheaper stores. I mean,
Yeah.
a little bit up elevated. Yeah, we'd take a bus ride. We'd go to Walmart. We can go to different stores, which we've learned to adapt to. Do we want to
Hmm.
keep doing that? No, we do not, because our place is very old. It is as is when we rented it. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, they tweaked up a few things, but it's a hot box. It's a
Yeah.
hot box. I
Yeah.
said, so when the heat dome hit, I can tell you, Sonia, what was the temperature in here when we had the heat dome inside our unit?
29,
No, no, huh?
30 something, 50 something. The high.
I think he
The
told me
actual
it was
temperature,
34 or something,
the
wasn't it?
actual temperature in here was 38 degrees, everyone.
38.
38
Oh, I
degrees.
think it was
And the
65.
humidity was 65. It was
Holy.
the humidity in
Wow.
here, it said 65. It got to I think 71. It clocked to 71 humidity
Wow.
here. It was like I was sitting here and it was just, I had the fan going. I was dripping in sweat. My
Yeah.
back was just covered
Wow.
in sweat. And
Yeah.
I'm watching on the news hour
No
and still,
AC then either.
and we have, and I mean, we just have fans. We just, and
Yeah.
I tell you, now we got circulatory fans,
Yeah.
which is good, but not the best. It
Yeah.
helps.
Mhm.
So I guess the fact is that the government said after that, well, we learned that yeah, we have to change things going forward. So they started saying, well, we're going to come out with a plan through BC Hydro in British Columbia, everybody. So people back east, oh, well, our government never did that. Yeah, well, I don't know if they did, but they probably didn't. I mean, under Doug Ford, no surprise there. But if he did, I mean, maybe you might want to look at that. But anyway, in BC, they actually were coming out with a program saying people on low income can apply for air conditioners. Well, you had to jump through all these hoops to get it. Some people got it.
Mhm.
However, here's the catch. Your management company has to allow for the installation from the subcontractor to come in and actually install it in. If your management company says no, you cannot put it in their building, you can't. And I can tell you, mine, they won't allow it installed in our windows.
Yeah, they don't
Nope,
allow
nope.
it here either in
You
my
can't,
place.
you cannot do it.
And I own here. I own
Yeah,
here. As an owner, I'm not allowed
yeah.
to do it.
And I asked the management company
Yeah.
and I said, like, if we were to get that, could we have it installed in?
Yeah.
Like, and they're like, we're
Yeah.
well aware of it. They said, no, no, we will not
Yeah.
allow it. You can have
Mhm.
a portable one put in like temporarily,
Yeah.
through if you were to get one through your balcony, you could get one. You could
Yeah.
actually, but you have to do it yourself, but not permanently fixtured on there. No.
Mhm.
And so again, the government said, well, we're going to be giving corporate landlords a certain amount of grant to upgrade their buildings to a code,
Mhm.
a certain code,
Mhm.
meaning double pane windows, like kind of restructuring buildings so they're eco-friendly. Echoes. That's all I've heard.
Yeah.
I
It's just
mean,
crickets. It's a crickets, right?
like last year. I'll give
Yeah.
you an example because we're talking about keeping up with the right thing, like autonomy, dignity, and respect, and
Mhm.
all these things. Last year, our management company sent out a window company to come and survey, and they came
Mhm.
to every single unit, and they said, "Yeah, oh my gosh, look at these windows! Wow, that is archaic,
Yeah.
archaic, everybody."
There's the
That
word
came from
again. The ding, ding, ding,
yeah,
ding, ding, ding.
yeah. And that came
Yeah.
from a window company. And they said, oh, these windows are shot. They need to be replaced. I said, they're like, it will not keep the heat out. I put these
Mhm.
curtains closed when we had a heat wave there for a while. These curtains were closed beside me. And of
Mhm.
course, bright side of the face and the darker side. So yeah, like you could feel the heat, the intensity of the heat behind behind these
You know what I want to do at the end of the show, Brent? We'll have to sing like a rocking song, like
yeah,
a music video.
yeah,
It's the final countdown, something like that, right?
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
you know what we
Excellent.
have to do, Brent? We've only got like 5 minutes that we can spend on the next
Okay.
couple. I do want to kind of be out of here before the clock hits about an hour and a half, and
Okay.
we're already at an hour and
Okay.
and 14
Okay.
minutes.
Yeah,
So I kind of want
we'll
to
speed her up.
really want to just rapid fire these last two,
Okay.
and these last two are important, but they're ones that we've kind of dealt with before a little bit, so they might not be as
Easy,
important
easy.
as what we talked about earlier. So the fourth one is tenant insurance,
Okay.
um, and not having enough income means that by default, if you don't have enough income, it means that you're automatically open to discrimination,
Yep.
even though, and I've said this lots before on the podcast, even though according to the human rights policies here in BC, like if you go to the commissioner of the office of the BC Office of Human Rights or whatever it's called, I forget the I forget the
Yeah.
names now. But if you go to that office here in BC, there's an office. Uh, they even say that source of income. They say that source of income is not a grounds of discrimination, except
Really?
this no, but
Yeah.
continue, Brent. That source of income is not a grounds of discrimination, except on the ground, except in cases of tenancy. except in cases of tenancy.
Oh,
So
oh,
when a landlord says, "I'm sorry, Brent and Sonia, but you don't have enough money," that is discrimination on the grounds of tenancy.
mm-hmm.
That is discrimination. But the government is like, oh well, it's happening. Oh well,
Yeah,
big deal. It's
must be
happening,
a
but big
situation.
deal,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, must be an isolated
It
situation.
must be
Sorry
it must
about
be an
that.
isolated situation. I
Yeah.
mean, it's happening thousands of times. It's
Or we
happening
didn't hear
thousands of.
about that, but thanks for letting us know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for
we'll have
letting
to.
us know. We know it's happening, but oh well, oh
Yeah,
well.
yeah. I'll give everybody an example quickly as we're going to rapid fire through these last two.
Yeah, yeah,
So tenant insurance, there's a lot of corporate landlords or management companies, and I'm going to pick on corporate landlords, but why not? But the fact is that they're now requiring, and we've gone through this many times, where we've run against a situation now. I thought, well, it's isolated. Nope, it's not isolated at all. There's a lot of management companies now that are saying you have to have tenant insurance. I need to see the tenant insurance. So they would say, okay, they would say, I need to see the paperwork. Now, like you have to physically show them in person the
mhm,
paperwork. They don't want to see like a phone copy on your phone. No, they want to see the actual copy.
yeah,
Once you actually have it, you show it to them, they will rent to you. If you do not have it and it's not valid, it has to be valid.
mhm,
And if it's not valid, they will not rent to you. And that is part of the condition. So
yeah,
again, that's another huge expense that
yeah,
a tenant has to fork out. And again, I mean, it never was a
yeah.
policy before. And
Yeah. And
yeah,
and the getting back to the landlord again is like, well, you only have $500
yeah,
rent
yeah,
for your rent for your shelter allowance.
yeah,
I'm sorry, we're gonna have to discriminate you against you on that. But again, like I said, according to human rights policies here in BC, you're not allowed to discriminate
yeah,
based on tenancy, but it happens all the time. It
yeah.
happens all the time.
And that's the other part I'm going to dive into right now, and then we'll kind of we're rapid firing through this, everyone.
Yeah.
So as Neil just mentioned, there is so you say to the management company, okay, well, what's your total income? And a lot of them are going to ask you, what is your source of income? And I don't know any company that does not ask you what your source of income
Yeah.
when you
Well,
rent.
of course
I
they're
mean,
gonna ask that. Yeah.
yeah, that is a requirement. I mean, even when we rented here, it's like, okay, so what is your source of income? Okay, can you get me, 2 months worth of printout to show that it's going into your bank account, or if not, just a one shot amount just to show your entitlement from the government or whatever. So we went and it was just a release of information for easy peasy rather than getting a
Mhm.
printout from your bank because it's not always convenient to do that either, right? From the bank. So you went to the office because when you're a person with disabilities, you're transferring from office to office. So it's very easy just to get a printout because you say, well, I'm going to be possibly moving to this address. Oh, okay. They just need a release of information to show that my intent is I'm going to be renting at this residence. So they give a release of information, shows your entitlement, what your amount that you get. That's all the management wants to see is your amount to show
Mhm.
that, oh, okay, good, okay, then you're good to go. But now here's kind of what Neil was mentioning about they start picking away at the dollar amount. So they look at your amount and they say, oh, you do realize that this is what the rent is. Yes. Are you going to be able to pay that? Well, yeah, this is the amount. Right. Are you going to be able to live comfortably after you pay your rent? Oh, is that all you got left? And then
Yeah.
okay, so if you this is the shelter's already blended in, I go, oh, it's all inclusive. It's all in that
Yeah.
amount. So your $500 is now included in that full check amount.
Yeah.
Okay. So now here's the kicker. Some management companies are well aware, which most of them are, of what the okay,
Mhm.
archaic shelter rates are. If you take away that $500, now you're going to get 983 total in BC. So
Yeah.
1483, okay, you take away $500, that's 983. So now they're going to say, so if how are we going to rent to you if you got 983? But yeah, but if you rent to me, the government's going to give me that $500 back.
Yeah.
Oh, so they say, okay, so how are you going to rent? How are you going to live? now it creates a whole hornet's nest. It creates a
Mhm.
whole bunch of questions. Some are not even wanting to rent to PWD, even
Yeah.
on your phone check. Even if you do,
And that is discrimination, right?
that is total
That's
discrimination.
discrimination.
Yep.
But you know, and the provincial government says that you know, again, source of income cannot be a grounds of discrimination except in cases of tenancy. So our own provincial government
Mhm.
admits it that you cannot discriminate based on tenancy, and yet it happens all the time, Brent.
But meanwhile, they seem
Like
they love
thousands of examples,
they love
thousands of
status
examples.
quo. They love to keep going with it. And then when you ask them, they say, "Yeah, there's more to do. There's more to do. Baby steps,
Yeah,
baby steps. Yeah, we got to fix the
yeah.
policy."
There's more
Or
to do, and you have to live within your means. You have to learn to make sacrifices.
yeah,
You have to
budget
learn to budget better.
better, budget better.
Like all this gaslighting, right?
Yeah,
Like you know, like there's gaslighting, and remember when uh, I don't really like to pick on Evie. I'm gonna anyway. Like, remember when he was on the radio when you were
uh,
able to call in,
oh yes, in 2024. Yeah,
and then David Evie basically mansplained to you. He
yeah.
basically mansplained to you and said, "Well, you know, Brent, you know, if you got a job that we don't claw that back." We
Mhm.
don't claw that back, you know. So you could get a job and earn some more. So he's mansplaining to you
Yeah,
how you can help to budget better.
yeah. So basically,
Mansplaining to you.
so
I mean
what
that's
the conversation was in 2024, a local radio station, CKNW in Vancouver, which they simulcast, all over the province. They had a phone-in show, and the premier was actually on the show at the time. And they said if you invited people to call in because he was willing to take questions, the premier was willing to take questions, but you had to be right to the point, very
Mhm.
precise, very quick. And they know when I call in, they know that they'll give me like 30 seconds or whatever. Because I'm right to the, I doing the podcast, so used to calling in. So
Yeah.
anyway, I called in and they gave me a little bit more than 30 seconds, but I actually cut myself off because I was beyond flabbergasted with the comment that I got
Right.
in return.
Yeah.
So what I said was, they're like, Brent, go ahead, please. Brent from Victoria, go ahead. Hi, I go, hi, Mike. Hi, David. Thanks you guys for taking my call. Yeah, go ahead. So David, question for you. So I rent from a corporate landlord, and my corporate management wanted to know was why we didn't get a rent increase in our current BC budget amount, because cost of living is going up, our rent went up. Our rent went up, but we didn't get an increase in order to offset that cost. Can you answer why? Yeah, yeah. So thanks for taking my question. So we recognize we need to take care of people. But I guess I'm just kind of summarizing it, everybody,
Mhm.
but in so many words. But yeah, so we actually did raise the earnings exemptions. So if you're not well aware of it, you may want to look into that. So people with disabilities, we raised the earnings exemption. So yeah, if you haven't really found a job, you might want to look into that. Like it's the
Well,
jobs.
the way he said it to the
Yeah,
reason I said that he was mansplaining to you is that he basically said, in case you didn't know, Brent, in case you didn't
yeah,
know, let
yeah,
me explain to you, Brent, what you don't know
yeah,
is that there's these earnings exemptions that we've increased.
yeah,
Like you don't know, Brent, you don't know what I know. And
yeah,
of
yeah,
course
yeah.
I mean, of course
I was just
that's
like,
not true. So he's
yeah,
mansplaining to you
yeah. He was like talking down
trying to
to,
pretend that you don't know anything.
yeah, or it's like talking down to me like I was like a
Yeah.
little freaking kid that
Yeah.
just learning my ABCs, like an FYI.
You don't know what it's like to live on disability, Brent.
No, no,
How dare you phone me and pose a question like that?
yeah, impose it,
Let me
impose it.
mansplain to you what the reality of living on disability is really like, because I know all about it, Brent. I know
Yeah,
all about it because I'm the premier of BC.
I know
I,
everything.
David
I
Eby,
I
know
don't, I
everything.
don't know what it's like to live with a disability all my life,
Yeah.
and being put down as having a disability, and someone talking down to me like I'm an imbecile,
Oh,
or I
That
was
was so insulting. That was so
dumbfounded.
insulting. But and again, we have to say that came from the mouth.
Yeah,
That comment came from the mouth of a sitting BC
yeah,
premier,
yeah,
Mr. David Eby. That comment came from the mouth of the sitting BC premier of like, well, Brent, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. Like we have these income exemptions. Actually, that's going to be our last comment. So
yeah,
let's just go roll right into that.
yeah.
Our last area of where we're going to focus in on is spousal caps, increasing the spousal caps,
Oh yes,
earnings exemptions, and the PWD clawbacks.
yeah.
So we're going to spill right into the last thing of the spousal caps, the earnings exemptions, and the PWD clawbacks.
Yeah, so in British Columbia, recently
And
at
we're
a,
going to try to spend only 5 minutes on this one.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
at a rally in British Columbia, just before the summer session rose for the ministers to leave for out of the legislature, we had a rally out in front of the BC legislature, basically hosted by Jeff Leggett, Disability Action of Canada. He hosted the rally with the DJ Cool. It was actually really good. Very windy day.
There was
As
supposed to
well.
be cake. There was supposed
It
to be
was supposed to
cake,
be
but
taken and we could eat it too, but give it to the MLA so they could eat it too. However, unfortunately, the cake didn't make it through the Malahat properly. But Jeff said he would take care of the cake and give it to people within
and
the
he did, and
community.
he did.
And he did. He gave the
Yeah,
cake. It
yeah,
was a big cake too.
yeah,
And he
yeah,
gave it to people within the community that are less fortunate and unhoused. The unhoused community, they were very grateful. And there's a lot of merchants in the area that they do help the homeless people, and so I want to
yeah.
thank them.
Shout out to Jeff Leggett. Yeah.
To shout out to Jeff Leggett for all his advocacy work that he does within his community and throughout British Columbia and throughout Canada. Oh, Jeff, your advocacy is so important, and I'm proud for myself and Sonia to be joining with you with your advocacy organization that to push the narrative of holding the governments accountable from every level, provincially and federally, to no less than poverty level financial support. There's a lot of work that we need to do on that. I mean, to hold the governments to account because they're not listening. Like they're just
Mhm.
they I don't know, wax in their ears or something. I don't know what's going on, but
Yeah.
I've got Q-tips. Actually, my doctor told me don't use Q-tips, use cotton swabs because he said really you got to be very careful about. He's be like very old school doctor. Stop using Q-tips. I go,
Yeah.
I just gently do it. He goes, yeah, because I can tell, amount of wax in there, and you're really digging away at it. I was like, and he had this little microscope. He's like zooming in. I'm like,
Oh
dog,
man.
come on, man. But anyway, my point is that wax in the ears from the politicians. I
Yeah.
need the politicians to understand it's no fault of a person with disabilities. They are
Yeah.
born that way. You can get into an accident at any time. You can become disabled. You can end up on an insurance disability program through WCB in British Columbia or what is it in Ontario? I think it's WSIB, is it, or something like I've seen it before, but anyway, it's like equivalent of BC's insurance. Any province has a disability insurance program that they go through. However, some are long term, some are temporary. And when they run out, if there's temporary, you're now vulnerable. If you are now permanently disabled in so many ways, you
Yeah.
can end up onto the provincial disability program.
Yeah.
Now, I know because I actually had a sponsor, everybody. I had a sponsor at one time who helped us out every so often, not very often, who then became disabled, and was actually very critical with the government and said the government needs to do better and said, well, I mean, I'm glad that my tax dollars are actually going to helping people, on income assistance or disability assistance. She was disgusted that knowing that how much that the government provides people with disabilities in Canada.
So much is redirected to the government bloat. Remember on the last podcast
Yeah,
we talked about the government
yeah,
bloat.
and
So
yeah,
and
no,
it doesn't get passed on to you and
it
me,
doesn't
Brent.
get
It gets
passed on to the average citizen
yeah.
within the province or across our country. And so many times it echoes throughout the disability community when people don't realize what is going on. Because you turn on your news, you're not going to see stories about people with disabilities, lived experience stories. The government basically tells the news hours, do not talk about this. Do not talk about
Hands
this.
off.
Yeah. We're going to raise FOI fees so that now the journalists or reporters have to pay a fortune to make a news story. They're going to say, oh, I can't afford that.
People with disabilities don't deserve their health. They don't deserve feeling safe in their homes.
Yeah, they don't want their stories to be told. And I tell you, it can affect anybody, and it will affect anybody at any time. If you're a politician, okay, and I thank the politicians who have come on here. I invite other politicians or any other media, government official, it doesn't matter what level you are, to come on to the show. Reach out to Neil. He'll get you programmed in, and we'll get you on. I mean, talk about it. It's okay to talk about government failed policies. How do we modernize them? Listen to lived experience stories. I mean, it affects everybody. Why should the disabled community, just because who we are, I mean, be singled out as, oh, well, you're the most vulnerable part of the population, seniors with disabilities.
Well, I remember Christy Clark used to think the most vulnerable creatures on the planet were dogs.
Yeah, she really got hammered, and so did Gordon.
She was awful. She was awful.
Yeah, she was awful. I mean, any politician who figures that not to raise rates, they're way out of touch. Way out of touch.
You know what, Brent? Let's pretend that you're on CKW now. You have 30 seconds.
Okay.
We haven't really even talked about 5 yet, but we're gonna get. You have 30 seconds to talk about the spousal cap.
Yep.
Sheila Malcolmson has said that she's going to increase the spousal cap so that people that are married, their spouses can afford to earn more without penalizing me or you.
Yeah, so she said at a rally
with clawbacks, right?
Yeah, she said she was proud to announce that our government's going to be
So the 30-second comment from me is she's announced it.
Yeah,
she's announced it. But again, we talked about on the last show. We talked about the government of announcements.
Yeah.
So it's been announced. It's been announced, but nothing's happened, right? Yeah. So she says we're going to have increased the spousal cap, but it's been announced and nothing's happened. And they have earnings exemptions, but the PWD clawbacks are still a thing because pink unicorns are still a thing, right?
And right behind me.
Yeah, pink unicorns are still a thing because autonomy doesn't count, doesn't exist. If you're a person with a disability, autonomy, you don't deserve autonomy.
Yeah.
So you get the clawback. You get the clawback.
There's no respect for PWD because they make those choices for themselves. Do we? Do we make the choice that you're born with a disability? Yeah. No. I was born that way. Can I change it? No, I can't. Oh, why not? Because I'm born that way. You can't change who you are. I know that some people government would love people to change themselves to how the government wants them to be. I know there's people that I had in my life who wanted me to be who they wanted me to be. I can't change that. I'm me. I can't change me. But I want to make a quick point before we quickly end the podcast. In Alberta, the government wants to modernize to the UCP government in Alberta. They want
when they say modernize, they really mean kneecap. We're going to kneecap.
They want to kneecap their program.
Yeah.
So I want everybody to write to Alberta government and tell them that is the most disgusting thing. Premier, do not do this. In Alberta, do not do this. I can tell you, lived experience in BC, the Liberal government way back when did that for PWD, reassessed. We're going to reassess you.
People died. People died. And Gordon
died.
Campbell has blood on his hands.
Yeah.
Gordon Campbell has blood on his hands, and it's like,
oh well. I can tell you lived experience on that. They put me through freaking hell. Yeah. I had anxiety. I had stress. I had to go and see a doctor. I had a family doctor at the time. I had to go to a walk-in clinic because my doctor was really busy with backed up patients. He was actually a surgeon also. So he worked at the hospital. He worked at his clinic. So he was a very busy doctor. I went there and they sent me for testing. They told me my cortisol was way freaking high as hell.
Yeah.
They told me that the government had imposed in undue stress and anxiety. And so I went to my doctor, actually got of course, you go to a walk-in clinic, your family doctor is going to get a copy of this. They called me up. Hi, Brent. The doc wants to see you. I got your panel report here, blood work. He's quite concerned. He wants to see you ASAP. I phoned it because they had no appointments. All of a sudden, oh, they got an appointment now for me. Gosh, imagine. Right in the middle of a frickin' bus strike.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had to take a handy dart to get to my doctor's office. Normally, it should have just taken a short period of time. It took me an hour and a half to get to my doctor's office.
Yeah.
Anyway, the doctor got on the phone. Long story short, they basically the government backed off. He said lawsuits. He's going to do lawsuits. He's going to lawyer himself up with even more lawyers. I got a phone call from the government saying, "Oh, yeah, I got two ladies coming to your door. They're going to be there very soon, within a half an hour." Well, who are they? I see two people walking down my driveway. Here, are you Brent? Yeah, here. And there's a $500 bonus check inside. You've been reinstated. I should not have been uninstated.
Yeah.
We're just the delivery people. I said, it's disrespect. I said, that's my integrity. I said, you really crushed me. I said,
lack of autonomy again.
I said, yeah, you caused me stress, anxiety. My doctor said, like, you caused me bodily harm. And I said, and that's wrong. Well, here's $500. We realized we messed up. You should not have messed up. So my point is to the Alberta government, do not do this. So everybody, the government basically in Alberta wants to reassess everybody. They want to put them onto a new program. They want to look at the jobs. They
want to make sure that you're still disabled.
Yeah, they want to see you're still disabled.
That the medical doctors properly assess you the first time, because maybe we can't trust medical doctors' opinions.
Yeah, they want to get their doctors to assess. Yeah, your medical doctors.
We can't trust the actual medical doctors.
Medically assessed and
so we're going to use our own. We're going to use our own experts. Yeah.
Medically assessed and designated as a person with disabilities. Disabilities don't magically go away. Government, that's my point. It doesn't go away. You get more disabilities. Unfortunately, you have to realize that I know you magically want people just to be, oh, they're going to be healed. It's going to be magic for you. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So BC, same thing. That rhetoric of jobs.
Yeah.
No, it's not happening. Like I mean, if a person can do, I encourage them. I encourage them. Yeah, if you can work.
I did work for many years. And guess what? I get penalized with the clawback of a pension that is an earned pension.
Yeah.
And I got clawed back because I worked for it.
Yeah.
And the government now says, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. We're going to claw that back.
Yeah.
You didn't actually work for it, Neil. And your wife didn't actually work for it. Too bad. We're going to claw that off you.
It's like, and I'll give everyone an example too. Is like I had a family doctor who said, well, you're already disabled. I was inquiring when they first came out with this RDSP. I still remember when they came out with this RDSP from the banks, and the bank said, well, Brent, have you thought about getting RDSP? What is that? It was a registered disability savings plan. We can get you set up right now. And actually we got, there's a bonus offer right now for you. If you set one up, like there's like $1,000 the federal government's going to kick in right now. What?
Well, and again, you know what? My number one complaint with it's great. It's a great thing, but I've always said this. It's a great thing, but unfortunately, you have to have money. You have to have money to be able to invest in it. If you don't have money to invest in it, it's useless. Yeah,
exactly. And I went to my doctor, my bank said, go to them. And my doctor said, no, you're already disabled. I'm not signing off for federal disability to get a DTC. In order to do that, because I had phoned Revenue Canada. Well, what does this RDSP mean? So anyway, I was making calls back and forth, and even the CRA, everybody said, if you're already disabled in your province.
I still haven't got a response back about the Canada's disability benefit, by the way, from the CRA. Yeah. I haven't got a response back.
How did I know that fast forward through time that you needed to get that in order to get that, and again denied. And of course you only have up to age 49 in order to actually contribute into an RDSP. After that, it's a game over. So I want everybody to understand that we weren't just mudslinging at just government directly. It's about their policies, and government can change policies.
What was the magic word today, Brent? What was the magic word today?
The magic word today is
Archaic,
archaic.
autonomy, respect, and what was the other one?
Dignity.
Dignity, yes.
4 pillars.
Yeah.
4 pillars, and we covered those 4 pillars a lot. A couple of the words that we covered more.
Those are 4 pillars that are not respected right now.
Not respected at all.
In government, in provincial
Any
government policy.
Any level of government.
All 4 of those things are not currently respected in disability policy under provincial governments. It's not respected.
Or federal. Or federal.
Or federal for that matter. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it basically goes to show. I mean, you look at the airline right now. Before we end the show.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at what's going on there. They're disrespecting the flight attendants. They're on strike. They're working for free. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they work for they do lots of work for nothing. They get no money for it.
That goes with not even just Air Canada. All the airlines in Canada. They as soon as you come into the airport as a passenger and you're going to scan your documents at their kiosks, or if you had an attendant that's there and they scan your documents, sometimes they fast track it through the lineups. They're actually not paid. They're not paid. And
they don't get paid until they get on the plane.
Actually, I know, until the wheels take off. They're flying.
Until the wheels take off. That's true.
You don't even get paid when you're on there.
During the flight is when they get paid. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, we have to punch out, Brent. And I promised that we would do a song at the end.
Yeah.
Cause in honor of your halfly lit face there, the rocker face from the 80s.
Yeah.
So let's do it. It's the final countdown. It's a final countdown. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Side or this side? This side's more shinier as the sun shines down on me.
Yeah, there you go.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your day.
Everyone.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for the next episode of PWD Allies podcast. Please subscribe, like, share, and have a great day.